New Artist Spotlight Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the New Artist Spotlight Podcast. I am Wilko Wilkes, and Origin Crxss is currently moving house, so he's not going to be with us today. I don't know why he thinks that's more important, but it might be because he's spoken to this man once before, but I haven't, and I've been looking forward to this chat. So nice to meet you, and welcome to the show, Dany Horovitz. How are you doing, mate?
Hey, I'm really good, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's funny. So last time I spoke with Origin and you were missing, maybe you were moving house or something, and now he's moving house. I think maybe it's like this TV show in Canada we have called The Polka Dot Door, where there's a man and then there's a giant giraffe, and they're never in the same room. It's because the man is actually the giraffe. So maybe you guys are actually the same person. I don't know.
Well, I don't think
No, because I've seen the podcast episode.
yeah.
Hold on it.
There's a big flaw in your theory there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a stupid joke, but anybody from Ontario, Canada gets that, and they're laughing. So.
Yeah, that's true, man. But it could be some sort of like Truman Show stitch up as well, where we're only doing it to you.
Yeah.
And everybody else is in on it. But yeah, no, welcome, man. Yeah, good to meet you. And I know you've already answered a few of the questions, such as who are you and what do you do? But talk to me in your own words, because as musicians we evolve, so I'm sure what you say now isn't going to be exactly the same word for word as what you said last time. So where are you at now in your kind of musical journey?
Well, I'm Dany Horovitz from Toronto, Canada, and I recently put out my second full-length album, Finero Rhyme, and subsequent to that, I put out another single, and I've got another single coming out in a month's time, and then I'm going to start releasing my third album slowly after that. So I'm much further along in the journey than I was the last time that I was on the podcast, but I'm still loving every moment of the recording process, loving every moment of the engaging the community with other independent artists, just loving being a part of that. And enjoying performing and trying to, as everyone, sort of grow slowly. So that's where I am on the journey. I think I'm writing the best songs ever, but of course I would say that because I always want to think I'm getting better and better. I'd love to have one day be successful enough and have a dedicated following enough that somebody comes up to me and tells me I've sold out and my songs aren't as good as they used to be, because it means that they have a really deep-seated opinion, if nothing else.
Yeah, I like that, mate. I like that. And they're definitely very high quality every time. Like I was going to say, I gave Big Bold Ben a bit of a hard time a couple of weeks ago because I said he needs a playlist on his Spotify profile where I can just listen to all of his songs, because that's what I like to do before these podcasts. So I wanted to firstly congratulate you on having a playlist on your profile that's got all the Dany Horovitz songs on. And also, yeah, it was a really, really good listen. Like I really enjoyed it. I put it on shuffle and then listened to the whole playlist. And my favourites, I wrote them down, was Loneliness in Rhyme and Daisy. I think both unbelievable tunes.
Thank you so much for saying that. Well, let me give, as I always do, a shout out to my collaborators, in particular Calvin Hartwick, who's my producer and an engineer and mixes most of the songs, and Sean Royal, who plays so much of the instrumentation, including on both those tracks. So on Daisy, he does all the instrumentation, including that beautiful guitar solo just in the middle. He just added to it. Loneliness in Rhyme was the first song I wrote on the piano. I got this piano behind me, and when I moved in here, I bought this piano, and I thought, well, I'll just learn how to play. And I can't help myself but write songs, and so that's the one that I came up with. It was also at the beginning of the pandemic when I think we're all kind of going through a bit of those emotional turmoil. And I'm really happy with the way that it came out. I'm so happy with the way that Sean ended up constructing that musically on the piano, the way that like Calvin directed my voice to work. And then it has violins on that one, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And that's done by a guy named Mike Tompa, who's a terrific strings person. So thank you for saying those two songs. Those are lovely songs.
Yeah, amazing, man. And they're good examples of your songs, I think, where there's a big build-up and like the song has progression through it, but it always feels like it feels big from the beginning. But then, yeah, you have these like massive instrumental breaks, which I think is a nice sort of tasteful habit, especially if you're working with musicians where you're kind of allowing them to do their thing. That's a class way of doing it, man. And that means you can produce a lot of music as well, because you're not having to do it all yourself, are you?
No, exactly. And, no one can do it. I mean, some people can, but I can't do everything myself. I think of myself more like a storyteller, a songwriter, a poet, if I may dare to go that far. But there are other people who can play instruments better than I can. And even more importantly, like I love the process of being in the studio with them. That journey is amazing. And I'm always impressed and amazed at how they take like my stories and really make them soar. And that it's a lovely thing. So it's my, it's my name on the album, but I always, to the greatest extent possible, praise my collaborators. I'll tell you a quick funny story about Daisy. I'm writing the song Daisy, and there's an old Leonard Cohen song called Famous Blue Raincoat where he talks about a woman who goes clear. And I thought, what a beautiful metaphor for someone who's like there in your life one moment and then just disappears the next. I thought it was like someone who had run away. So I write this song and I'm talking with someone and he's like, I didn't know, is this song about someone who joined Scientology? I'm like, no, of course it's not. And apparently the song Famous Blue Raincoat was about a woman who joined Scientology, and there's a whole thing about going clear in Scientology. But for me, it was just this beautiful image of like what it is to have someone who like just goes clear. So I don't mean to make a nod to or offend anybody who's Scientologist. It's just sometimes things just have a great way of playing on your ear, and it comes out completely differently than what maybe someone else meant when they said it.
Definitely, man. I find that strange when people, because you can't control what the listener thinks, can you? You can write everything with one intention, and like I sometimes get people telling me their favorite lines of mine, and it's stuff that I just thought was like a mundane line, or they're thinking of it in a different way that I thought of it as. And I think that's one of the beauties of music, is there for everybody to interpret.
Yeah, I did when I was in university. I took English literature, and I took a class on like meaning and authorship. And what you learn is that the reader brings more to the meaning than the author. You know, like I as an author bring my intention and my ideas, but then when it's done, I have no more control over its meaning than I do to myself as a reader or a listener. So you bring the meaning to the work. And obviously that's, depends on whether it's art or some other form of speech or whatever. But for the most part, that's kind of the great thing. It's that it's out of my hands and people can take and interpret it whatever they want.
Yeah, man. So tell us about your setup there. You've got the piano. Is that one that you can record straight directly from? Or?
I can, yes. I can hook that up to my MacBook Pro here, and I can use it to create different kinds of instruments. So for the most part, I play and I write on the guitar, either my Gibson or my Taylor, just fiddling around different sounds. I noodle around, I write songs. But once they're in Logic Pro, then I'll take the piano and I'll add like just an idea for what I think some other instrumentation will have. So I'll make these crummy demos so when we bring them into the studio, we're kind of on the same page as a starting point for what the vibe will be. But I will also go to the piano, play chords or hit notes to help me think about writing songs. And like Loneliness and Rhyme, sometimes I do end up writing songs on the piano. And it's nice because on an album, you want to have different sounds. You want to have something in a bright major key or something in a dark minor key, or maybe you want to have something that's more piano heavy, something that's more rock heavy. Otherwise, the album can grow stale. And what I hope that one of the things that kept you interested in when you heard my playlist is that whether you put it on shuffle or not, there's a variety in the sounds. And I'd like to think that's at least partially by intention with the way that I write songs, as much as it is with how we record it. I also have to think about performing. I want to write the best songs that I can, make them the best that I can, but then not every song can be written in a way that can be performed. I don't know that I can play Loneliness and Rhyme live. There's no good, unless I figure out a guitar part for it, but it then adds some more depth to the album. Whereas Morning Light from that same EP, The Candle Is Worth the Game, is one that I do play live on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And yeah, definitely there's a lot of variety in your music. It's like, there's a lot of span from like kind of everywhere from pop to like folk, punk, like kind of indie, rock. There's like almost like traditional feel to some of the songs. Yeah, man, it's a really impressive catalog, I think. And yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, kind of how long have you actually been recording songs? How long have you been writing songs? And how many how many songs do you reckon you've written in your lifetime?
A lot. I've been recording, for a few years. I think I started recording in 2021 is when we started recording. But I've been playing around town and writing songs and playing the guitar, in my own poor way since I was a teenager. I just love playing the guitar, and I love writing. I love reading, and so I'm always writing little stories, little poems that become songs. I don't know, 100 or more songs that I've just written, easily. But most of them are trash. Most of them are terrible. So the ones that you're hearing are the ones that I personally like. and then I bring into, a couple of dozen to my producers each time, and he and I would talk about it, which ones he likes the most. And increasingly, it's not just which ones he likes the most, because he likes my style of writing, but which is the combination that we think will be the best suited for an interesting, back to front album. Even if no one listens to the album, and even if I put the songs out one at a time, when it's all done and the book is closed and it's in that final list on Spotify, unified, I call that an album if someone stumbles upon it. I'd love to know your thoughts on this too, because when I write songs, and it's usually on the guitar, sometimes the piano, the way that I know that it's like a good song or a finished song is when I'm done with it, if I can remember it the next day, or if I'm only done with half of it, if that melody or chorus is in my ear the next day. That's kind of how I know, okay, now I'm onto something. And if it doesn't do that, then I realize I'm not onto something and I let it go, and maybe it just kind of simmers or sits in the back end. And I've called up to the front of my memory some old songs that were like terrible and half written to help contribute to the new ones. I don't know if you are also in a similar way, or if you write down with intention and you have to finish a song every time, or what?
Yeah, a bit of both, but I think I'm still pretty slow at producing and stuff because I'm still learning as I go. But so I think there's a lot of stuff that I cut out before it's like 10%. So I've probably got 100 songs that are started, but they're like 4 lines long. And then they've given up and thought, nah, and then moved on to the next one, But yeah, but there's certain songs where I'll get the idea in my head, and then that's it. I know that's what I'm working on for the next few weeks until it's done. Once I start and I'm like, yeah, this is the one, then I'll commit. And then because I need to make sure that the songs that I'm not one of these guys who's going to have 100 written, finished songs on a hard drive and have 10 to select. I've got like all my finished songs are released, apart from like 2. One's coming out soon, and then one's being.
But that's great because you're targeting them. You know what's good and what's not. I just, because I never really thought when I was younger that I would ever be able to record. I'm just writing for myself and entertaining myself. What kept inspiring me to finish songs and submit even songs that I don't love is that I don't know what other people are going to like. So I'll put like a list of my favorite songs to my producer, and then I'll have another list of like the B's, the backups, ones I've just finished. And I'm surprised at how much Calvin will say, actually, that's a song that I really love. And so we shuffle them in and out. And some of them, without me knowing it, are too similar to each other to really make a difference. You just got to pick one. Do you ever like take these old 4-line songs and stitch them together, like A Day in the Life, where you take like multiple things and
sometimes not like A Day in the Life, but I have done before. Yeah, and sometimes I get asked to write collabs, and then I've had a couple of collabs where they've fallen through or they've not been released, so I've repurposed the verse into a different song. Because again, my writing's at a premium. I feel like if I spend 2 hours, let's say, writing a couple of verses or whatever, or even just one verse, I need to use that verse in a song. I try to cut down my music waste. Do you know what I mean? Like all the good stuff I'll use, but there's a lot of shavings on the counter as well.
Don't you hate it when you got a line or something that's really, really clever and you're like, this is great, but then it just doesn't work for the song and you have to cut it out? It happens to me sometimes, like there's like some really profound statement or something like, this is great. But then I realize when I go back to sing it in the song, it's like, this doesn't work and it doesn't further the story and I have to edit it out. But I try to work it into some other song if I can.
Yeah, I don't know though, because I think I tend to plan my songs a bit more methodically than that. So like if I've got an idea in my head, it'll be like, I'll do a structure for it first. So I'll say like the first 8 lines are going to be setting the scene. The next 8 lines are going to be the progression, then the chorus, then there's going to be 8 lines of the action, then there's going to be 8 lines of the conclusion or whatever it might be. So I don't have a lot of times where I have to cut out lines or anything like that.
I admire the discipline, the discipline and the planning behind it. I really admire that.
Yeah, for me, it's all about that structure. And like you were saying, it's good for me. In terms of, I was saying I'll release everything I've finished, and you were saying, oh, that's good that you know what's good and what's not. I don't think I do, because some of the songs that I've made, the people don't really like that much. But again, for me, it's all about the process, and like I don't really care if nobody listens to my music. Like I'll have heard it 1,000 times by the time it comes out, because I'm buzzing off the fact that I actually get to make music, and like I can actually do this, just like make songs out of nothing just from my head into my own headphones, and they're going on my playlist because I've got so much. I'll show you what I've done recently. I've just made myself this to go on my wall. It's like all my single covers.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I just made it on Vistaprint for myself to remind me of the process that I've gone through, because I love it, man. I just love looking back at seeing where you were when you wrote that song, what you were doing when you wrote that song, who you collaborated with on this, on that. It's awesome, man. That's what I love. It's just actually creating. That's the best part.
Yeah,
yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, it's like you made the crucial point, and I think Rick Rubin has talked about this too. It's like, write the songs that you love for you. Assume that no one's gonna listen to it, that you're the audience. That's also the way that I approach it. And because you imagine working for a month or two on a song that you don't like because you assume everyone else is gonna like it, and then they don't either. How unsatisfying that would be. At least this way, you know that one person likes it, and that's you, the most important listener.
Yeah, man. And there's gonna be someone else that likes it if I like it.
Of course. You're not an island. Your taste is not completely unique. That's why using your heart and your ear is a good bellwether, because there's another audience out there.
Yeah, man. I totally agree with that. So one of your songs we're going to play today is your new song, No Heroes Here.
Yeah.
That's a class song as well, man. I'm really enjoying it, especially like in the harmonica part and the strings as well. It's another kind of epic tune. And yeah, tell us a bit about that.
Thank you. First of all, I'm really proud of the production behind it. So unlike a lot of other songs where I go in and I hire all these musicians to do all the work, in this case, the guitar and the harmonica is me. And I do sometimes play on my own records on the guitar, on Be Good. There's a song coming out called Simply Because. But on Waltz Once More from Panetta Rhyme and No Heroes Here, I had the opportunity to get a full studio day twice through a program that Spotify for Artists had called Notable. And my friend Kara McKinley, who's a terrific audio engineer in her own right, and she's done some mixing on my music, she ended up producing end-to-end both of these tracks. And we did it in this really cool one-day scenario where I brought in my guitar. You play to your strengths. So I played the instrument the way that I can with that kind of arpeggios that I do. I brought in the harmonica. I played the harmonica. Did the voices. She helped with structures, the harmonies for the vocals, so that's why they sound so rich. She has a lot of stamp on that. And then she added bass and violin at the end, and I think I had a tambourine and shaker. She might have done that. I can't remember, but anyway, between the two of us in sort of this really quick fashion, we put together what I think is this beautiful song. I listen to it a lot. I've been listening to it, I think, more than maybe any other song that I've had. Usually, like you, I'll listen to it 1,000 times before it's out, and then once it's out, I listen to my songs a lot less, but I've been listening to No Heroes Here a bit as I've been sharing it with friends because I'm so proud of it. And the way that the song came about, now I've talked about the production, is I'm really into this meditation app by Sam Harris. If you know who Sam Harris is, he's an American neuroscientist. He's got a podcast. And he's got this meditation app called Waking Up. And he sometimes has these like minutes of meditation where he tells you, about meditating. And he said something in one of these minutes, and he said, you can be happy, but you can't become happy. And I thought that was so profound. It's like, you can't like gradually become happy. A lot of for the most part, it's a decision that you have to make about how you choose to see the situation that you're in, and no one else is going to make you happy with yourself. You have to do that yourself. So I thought, what a great idea, and I sort of crafted a story around that, and I used a bit of the hero metaphor for that. So it was a song that I wrote pretty quickly, and it's a song that I almost always play when I perform. And I was very, very pleased with the way that it came out. I actually drove Kara crazy with my notes on the mixes because she did such a great job that I couldn't decide between any of them. And then we finally, with the help of her and my mastering guy, Phil Dimitro, we picked the right one. I love the song, and I hope everyone likes it too. It's a little more folky and bare bones than most of my stuff, but it's kind of like if you like Be Good or you like Waltz Once More, it's got a lot of that Celtic vibe to it, and I'm proud of the lyrics. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. I hope everyone enjoys it.
There are no heroes here tonight. You're just a damsel in a dress. No one can save you from yourself. And anyway, I'm gonna take flight now, I guess. But did you really think I was somebody's alter ego? You saw that I dress well and I sit uptight. And what happened was you thought the best of me. But there are no heroes here tonight. I've no powers, I've no mission. And if I did, it isn't trying to fix you. There are no saviors here tonight. I won't give my life just to ease you of your sins. 'Cause if I did, we'd both be stigmatized. In a story like that, nobody wins. And they don't even make phone booths anymore. And anyway, changing is my kryptonite. You can be happy, but you can't become happy. There are no heroes here tonight. I've no powers, I've no mission. And if I did, it isn't trying to fix you. Or we're all heroes, and we're all victims. And we're all villains too. These demigods, maybe they'd have done what you've been praying for. And maybe what was true once has just fallen into myth. But there are no heroes anymore. Now maybe I'm wrong and I know it isn't right. But there are no heroes here tonight. No, there are no heroes here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for letting us play that, mate. Really enjoyed it again, as always. So how many gigs do you do then? You mentioned gigs quite a lot. It'd be great to see you live. Tell us about your life.
Yeah, I love to play, but I don't get to play as much as I would want to because in order to do my music, I've got a regular job. I work at a bank. I'm just like a regular guy. And that means I'm kind of stuck mostly where I am in Toronto. And I don't stuck is the wrong word because I love being here, but I can't, you're in the single market. You can't go back to the well to get people to come out all the time. So I play as much as I can, but we're talking, maybe six times in a year. And then if I travel somewhere, I'll find local bars that have places to play and I might play there. But unfortunately, just being what it is, I can't really go on tour the way that I'd like to, unless I got really big and then it pays me to take extended time for my job. But so when I say I love playing, I also recognize that it's so valuable for me personally to do it, that I always prepare well and I always get psyched up for it. And I kind of, when something is more limited, when something is more scarce, it's more treasured as well. So I never take for granted any moments that I have to go on stage. And maybe that's why I talk about it so much. Similar with the recording, I probably talk about it so much. I think about it so much because when I was younger and I didn't know it was possible to record music in a studio, it never even occurred to me that I could. And so now that I know that I can, I know how precious it is and how meaningful it is to me personally.
I love that, mate. Yeah, I could totally agree with everything you're saying there, man. How old are you?
I'm 39.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So I'm 35. And
young man yet.
yeah, yeah. I've got loads of years left in me yet, man. But I only started at 31 with the rapping, and it was like my dream was just to play one gig as well. So every gig, it's like it doesn't matter. For me, it's like being at Wembley Stadium performing in front of 90,000. Even if it's like 12 people in a back room of a pub. But yeah, man, I've had a few gigs as well. Like when you get a good crowd in, those are memories for a lifetime, aren't they? Like
They are, yeah.
you
There's nothing like applause.
yeah, it's amazing, man. I don't know. I feel a little bit uncomfortable with like praise at times. I feel like I get too much praise sometimes because I do like a bit of charity work and stuff as well. All I ever get is like, "Oh, well done! It's great what you're doing." And I don't know. I think with the live thing, it's like a pat on the back for yourself. So like, I don't need the applause.
Well, I mean, yes, but remember that what you're really feeding off of is the energy of the crowd. That's what you're feeding off of. That's what's there the whole time. And when people give you, I mean, that's a really good point. I don't mean to say I love applause like that's the ends of the meaning behind it. You get that energy from the crowd, but you're giving yourself to them. You're giving your time, you're giving your heart, you're giving your energy, and they want to give you back something. That's what applause is. And when you give charity work and someone comes up to you and you say thank you, you seem like a modest guy and you probably kind of brush it off. But I actually encourage you not to brush it off, to sort of stand up there gratefully and say, or graciously and say thank you because they want to find a way to show you that you're.
Yeah. I think that's what I usually do, though. I'm always like, oh, thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. But I guess for me, I feel like other people deserve more praise more often. And maybe there's a dearth of like, I don't know, maybe it's something because of the Man Club. I see so many guys who are down and low and maybe need somebody to come and say to them, like, you're doing a great job, pal. Like, don't give up, keep doing what you're doing. People say these things to me quite a lot, and I'm very grateful for it. And I know I've changed this conversation now. It's come off, and maybe I've just talked what was on my mind. But I mean, it's even the same with New Artist Spotlight. Sometimes, we get a lot of good artists on there who don't get much spotlight time, doing amazing things. And I guess as well, it's part of me kind of feeling like a bit of a fraud musically, especially when I speak to people like yourself who can play instruments and do the whole thing. You start to feel like with NAS, there's so many artists on there that are absolutely amazing. I think, God, this guy's got like 100 listeners, and it's better than so many bands that have got like 1 million listeners. Yeah. It's crazy, man. There's so much talent out there that's unheralded.
Yeah. There's so much in there that I resonate with. First of all, we live in a time where, because of streaming, everybody's listening to everything that's new by all the popular acts, and also everything that was once popular and they loved when they were kids, all at the same time. So the capacity for new artists is so much smaller. And I'm with you as well. Even within the New Artist Spotlight community, there's like so many artists, and I do my best to try to connect and speak and get to know and get my name out there so that I can be known. But even then, I probably only connect with a small sliver of them. And whenever I vote, every week we do our top 20, we vote for 5. I try to put at least 2 of the songs for artists that I haven't voted before, because there's so many of us, and otherwise I would just go to the people I already know and I like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of want to, I don't know, put out into the ether other people who really deserve for what they're doing. I'd be curious so much to learn more about this men's group that you're in, because it sounds like it's providing you with a lot of like the right kinds of emotional support, gratitude, modesty, that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, so it's called Andy's Man Club. I've talked about it before on here, so I won't take up too much time. But yeah, it's a mental health group that meet every Monday. In the UK, there's 170 groups, and there's also online groups. So it's only in the UK, but any man over the age of 18 can come and get some stuff off their chest. So I go every Monday. I've been going for about 4 years, and it's been amazing for my mental health. So and I now run one of the groups locally. So it's been amazing for me, man. I think it's, but music alongside that has been so good for my mental health. Like, it's allowed me to step into being the guy that I always felt like I should be. Like, I always wanted to make music. I always felt like a failure because I hadn't kind of made any music or been a singer in a band or kind of ever played a gig or anything like that. So it's like, I think when you're being a musician, you get the chance to live the dream, don't you? Especially now when you can go on Spotify and just be on there. And and be
Absolutely.
part of it. And when you turn up to a gig and you just get to kind of be there before the venue opens, or it's special moments, man. Just feeding off that music energy. I can tell you feel the same, man.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, you're not a failure. You're very successful. You're very good at what you do. The fact that there's no money in it these days is kind of bad, but it's also freeing for the reasons we talked about, which means that you can make the music that you want to in your terms without worrying about other things. I think if you manage your expectations in this field of artistry in terms of what you're going to get out of it, you can get out of it anything that you truly desire. If you just manage your expectations, what you can get out of it artistically, if fulfilled and community-wise, is great. I think that this group you're talking about is phenomenal, because what we're really looking for, all of us, and I think there is a huge crisis of mental health in all the populations, but probably especially these days with millennial men as we enter, get a little older into our middle age. You see it all the time, and you hear about it all the time. Isolation. And what do we really want? We want self-expression. We want connectivity. So the ability to be on stage and connect with a crowd, the ability to write songs that express yourself and have it be heard by anybody, even if it's just out there in the ether on Spotify. It's a beautiful thing to give ourselves, and it's true. I mean, I don't want to limit it just to men, but I happen to be one, so that's where it comes out to. But for anybody to feel that connection with themselves, that connection with other people. Because isolation is something that can kill us all in this era of just being on our phones and our heads down here the whole time,
Definitely, man. And yeah, I think it's hard sometimes to put yourself out there. So again, something I admire about a lot of musicians is just being able to be vulnerable, because once you bare your soul in public, and that anybody who's ever known you can look at it and laugh at you if they want to, or even just insult you online or kind of mess with your stuff. I'm not saying this has happened to me. I've had a couple of comments here and there, but it is a vulnerable position. What I was going to say is you're either kind of producing content or you're consuming content. There's a lot of people who are just scrolling all day, never put anything out there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it is isolating. So I think that's kind of where I've got to force myself out sometimes, because as well, being a musician, it's a good way to become very insular. I love spending time just up here in my studio, working on music. I could spend hours and hours on here. I could do that every day, 7 days a week. I have a job, a wife, this, that, the other. I'm not saying I don't want that, but it can be isolating. It can be really lonely. So it's good that you're getting out there as well, and it's great that we've got a community like NAS where we can connect with other guys and other guys and gals who are going through the same stuff.
Yeah, and it's been phenomenal to talk with people. As we all write songs, those of us who write either personal songs or, in my case, stories, you're trying to find some kind of emotional truth. You're forced to dig deep and connect with yourself. And also just the fact of communing, getting into a community of people is engaging, and with like-minded spirits, which is awesome. You should talk to him. You should invite him to the podcast. Is Jonathan Panetta. He and I met. I'm not sure we met through NAS or through social media, but we ended up collaborating on a song, wrote a song together, made music for time. He thinks a lot about these issues, and they make its way into his music quite a bit. He'd be a really good person to have on this podcast. I'm always trying to pump his tires because I think he's cool.
I'll check that. Yeah, I can't remember if we've had him on before, but I'll check that. But yeah, you know better than anyone that some people could come back. I'll have to see if Origin was there as well when we did it. So, what are your plans for the future, man? Where does it all go from here?
Well, I've got I continue my slow growth plan. So I just put out No Heroes Here. On March 1st, I have another song coming out called Years Ahead. No Heroes Here is a sad song. Years Ahead is a happy song. This is a very unique way of engineering it. I recorded something at home, and then I sent it to a guy named Shannon MacArthur who lives in Nashville. He's a producer down there. We were chatting on social media. He took what I engineered, added a little bit of his own sounds to kind of round it out, and then sent it back to me. I sent it to my mastering guy. So it's like a very different way of producing it, something I'm not used to, but I'm pretty happy with the results. I can't wait for people to hear it. And then after that, just like the last year, every 8 weeks I had a new song. Every 8 weeks for the next year and a half, I'm gonna have another song. I have an album that's called Days Never Know that'll be completed by 2025. But starting in May with a song, I think probably the first song will be a song called Roads and Roses. Every 6 to 8 weeks after that, I'm gonna have a new song for a while until those 10 songs are done. I just want to keep putting it out there. Every time you get a release, you get a bit of a boost. Every time you get a release, it's someone listening to you. Maybe someone who didn't hear my music, the last release, finally they get the reminder, now they're going to catch up, just to keep that ball rolling, snowball rolling. Because I love this process. I want to stretch out the process as long as I possibly can, because I don't know when my level of productivity will end. I don't know when my ability to record will end, if my collaborators, move away, or if I just stop writing songs that please me. So as long as I can do it, I want to stretch it out as long as I can. So that basically to say that if you like any of my songs, and if any of your listeners who haven't heard of me yet, I hope they'll go and listen to some of the stuff now. I've got more and more coming out, and I promise you, whatever you've heard is just going to get better and better, because what's past is prologue, and what's coming is even better than what you've heard.
Yes, mate. Love it. That's how I feel as well. It's all going to be good. You're not going to run out of songs anytime soon. I know that for sure. So this is time now to face. I don't know. Did you face this last time? The very ruthless and evil thing that we're about to throw at you. The
lightning round. I did. Yes. Let's do it again.
Okay. So 15 seconds maximum. I think you can do this because you're a very fast speaker like myself. Have you ever done any rap, by the way?
No, I've never done rap, but I guess because my mom grew up in Italy, I talk so fast I probably could. Well, but I also don't have the talent. To be a rapper, it's like you study, you practice that yourself. I don't practice that, so I probably can't do it.
You could do it easy, man. I can tell from your voice, and you've got the rhythm, so you could do it easy. And me and Origin are willing to give you the opportunity for just £1 million or $1 million. But we'll now get into the Quickfire 5 while you consider that offer. Question 1 is: what is your favorite song of all time?
My favorite song of all time? My favorite song of all time is probably "Let It Be" by the Beatles.
Question 2: who's your favorite member of the Beatles?
Gun to my head, Paul McCartney. He's the hardest working man. He's the one who put in the effort.
Good choice, mate. Good choice. Question 3: if you could see any band currently still alive, still touring, who would you see?
You know what? I just saw U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas. I went with a friend, and it was like a once in a lifetime experience. I gotta say that, I can't imagine, a better concert. I mean, the Beatles, the Eagles, all these bands that are no longer around. Of course, I mean, the Eagles still tour, but they're just ending their tour. But of bands that are still currently touring, that U2 Sphere Vegas show was unreal. I think that's probably the answer. And I was lucky to have seen it.
Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram, man. Yeah. And question 4 is: who is your favorite of Henry VIII's wives?
Well, I mean, I gotta go with Anne Boleyn, because her daughter ended up being Queen Elizabeth, who changed, I think, for the better, the history of England, and not many British monarchs can say they changed it for the better. So I gotta go Anne Boleyn because of Elizabeth.
That's a really good answer.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite one of Henry VIII's wives? What a question.
Probably Anne Boleyn as well. I don't know. I quite like Anne of Cleves. Wasn't she that sort of Henry wasn't very impressed with her and basically sent her back pretty quick?
I mean, I guess Henry wasn't impressed with a lot of them, but yes, she was the one that he sent back. The other good answer would be Jane Seymour, not because I know anything about her, but because there's an actress named Jane Seymour who was on television here, and so it's just funny to have one of his wives have the same name as a quite famous actress.
Yeah, that's good. I'll give you that. And finally, question 5: if you could spend a day with anybody else from the New Artist Spotlight community, who would you pick?
Well, I mean, I already said Jonathan Panetta, and he's great, and we do chat sometimes because he's a friend. But you know what? Do you know Emily Gray? She's phenomenally talented. She's from the UK as well, and she did a cover of my song "Waltz Once More." And I've had a great time chatting with a lot of people. And there's a lot of names that I could pick from that, but the first thing that comes to my head is she just was so delightful to chat with. It'd be cool to hang out with her. Actually, if I came to London, we could all hang out together, go walking along the Thames, and maybe see play at the Globe Theatre and pretend that we were back in the court of Elizabeth.
Love it, man. The Globe isn't in London, but I do enjoy that.
No, the Globe is in London, isn't it?
Globe Theatre. It's in the.
There's the one in Stratford, but there's one in London. It's just across the bridge from the Tate Modern.
Sorry, mate. I thought you meant the original Globe. That's my mistake. I don't know London as well as you do, obviously. But it's 300 miles away from me. So
I was not trying to show off my knowledge about London, but
but you beat me. I should know it better, but I rarely go. It's not proper England as far as I'm concerned. But Emily Gray. Yeah.
I guess that's fair. It's like in America, there's like New York, and then there's the rest of America. I guess in England, like there's London is its own thing, and then there's the rest of England. That's fair.
Yeah, you need to come up to the north of England if you ever want to see the real deal.
I've been to I haven't been to the north of England. I mean, I've been as far north as Liverpool, very briefly, just en route to Glasgow. So I've been past the north of England, but where have I been? I've been to London. I've been to Bristol, I think I've been to, and then I've been to like all over Ireland and a few places in Scotland. I should go to more places.
Yeah, you need to come to Bradford next time. We'd be happy to have you. And we've been happy to have you today. So thank you very much for your time, man. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, really nice, man. Feels like we should have done this a long time ago because a lot that I can relate to you on, and it's been really interesting, kind of talking about all sorts rather than just the kind of the norm. So yeah, thank you. Any final words?
Thanks for having me on. I had a great time, and I've always got music coming out, so we can always do it again in the future too.
Nice one, mate. Thank you. Take care. We'll see you soon. And peace out.
New artist spot.